Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another reaction. This one, we have 48 minutes. Oh my god, 48 minutes of Google Maps strangest anomalies from Parallel Pipes, who, if I recall correctly, is the Minecraft parkour guy. He also mostly does internet rabbit holes, but I think this is the guy who always has Minecraft parkour footage as his overlay. I'm not playing anything in the background today. I am just watching the video. I also don't have the webcam on though because I'm too lazy to do the webcam. So it's gonna be my commentary over this video. And yeah, I mean, it's a fucking reaction. I don't have to do a big
Google Earth is
spiel.
such an underrated
You know how this
technology.
goes.
It's a 3D one-to-one recreation of our entire world. You can just
I do usually like this guy's content, to be clear. I don't know if it was very obvious from I don't watch people I'm not gonna watch content from people who I've watched and I know I don't like, to be clear.
entire planet.
But I did just call him the Minecraft parkour guy with no further information other than that he sometimes does YouTube rabbit holes.
Finding weird stuff from around the world from just a Google Chrome tab. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the strangest anomalies and locations Google Earth has to offer. Here we
Oh, he said Google. Okay, I was gonna say, like, wait a minute. I thought this was Google Maps. Google Maps, Google Earth. Yes, it is the same thing at this point. However, I wonder if this is a combination video where maybe the first one was about Google Earth and then the second one's about Google Maps and then there's a third one about Google Maps. I don't know. We'll find out.
go. Bear attack. So walking across this bridge in Russia.
Okay, but now this is like obviously Google Maps, so maybe he just got them confused.
If you keep your eyes down on the
It's the
water, you
same.
can see this bear swimming up next to this bridge here. The guy in front of you is carrying a rifle, and so I think that's why they just kind of keep walking and don't really seem to be too concerned.
Yeah, because
Stickman.
that guy is getting glocked.
Here in France, you can find a real-life stickman. Google car crash. Here,
Okay. Can we do a little bit more context?
Stickman. Here in
So the
France,
reason that this happens is probably because it looks like it's from the Google radar itself. The Google radar is essentially it's a camera that spins around. It's a panorama camera, right? So if you've ever done panorama on your phone, you know it makes you do the whole spinny thing over and over again. That's essentially what this Google car does. Is it has a camera that spins around really fast. It's creating panoramas like over and over and over again. But sometimes the panoramas can fuck up in such a way that it can create morphing like this. So that's probably what this is. I mean, I guess the guy could also have some sort of condition, but it's probably more likely that this got demorphed and he actually does have two normal legs, but it because you can see the foot kind of cuts off here too, right? It shows that he should have two feet. Although the more I look at it, the more now I'm kind of curious because I don't see any morphing issues elsewhere, just in this area. So maybe it is some guy with a disease. I don't know, but I also feel like you wouldn't be riding a scooter if you had a. You'd probably be in a wheelchair. Yeah, I don't think you would be on a scooter. I think it's a morphing problem.
you can find a real-life stickman. Google car crash.
See, this is why my React content should be copyright free because I talked way more about that one than he did.
Here at this spot in Ohio, you can see this red pickup
Jesus
truck
fucking
crash into the
Christ.
Google car. I'm genuinely trying to understand how this crash even happened. It's not even like a rear end, it's a direct head-on collision. Come on, what are we doing here? Swiss land.
That's crazy. I want to know what the footage looks like directly before and after this. Is it like it's like 2 years? You go a little bit further, it's like completely 2 years later. I guess we could go to this, right? Hold on. Do you think or it might be? I don't know how many of these. Usually Google Maps cleans this shit up pretty fast. 65200 O. That's a weird address. 58 New Plymouth, Ohio. This intersection, which is, I want to emphasize, how does this happen? Actually, no, this is this is two highways. Oh, fuck. Nah, that's probably why it happened. But I feel like there's not a lot of people going down this. Here, I'll show you now that I have it. You see this? So it's the 58, or sorry, the 56, and then the 93. So it's got to be two highways. So two people going fast, but also look how few. Like, I don't think. Like, how does someone come up on you from this end? You don't see him. I guess it would be the other way around. This guy was going fast, and this guy, I don't know. Let's see if it's still here. Nah, it's new. Oh, wait. No, it's not new. So this is like right before the crash? So this guy, I'm pretty sure is at fault because it looks like the car is turning onto this street, right? But he just kept going. Which means that the Google car driver is probably dead. Where's the other shots here? It's gotta still be here, because there's still clearly, my God, you like tanked that like a champ. Look at him. Or maybe, whose fault was this? So this is another day. No shit. Yeah, he's out of commission. Can we see? I want to see the lead up. Is there a lead up? No, it's just all the other ones are just this day. Unless, did he come from here? Oh, whoa! What the fuck happened? Yo, he didn't talk about this one. Is this after? Yeah, look, this is the. Oh fuck, that's so interesting. It's the car crashed. The car crashes into each other, and it's so hard that it breaks the I think it broke the Google camera. Like the car crash. Although I see here's a what looks like a police. And I don't think that's the same car. Yeah, that's a different car. So it looks like it parked here. And then these are rescue vehicles. That's so interesting. Okay. And then this is the other guy again. Look, you can even see so this is July 20, the new car is July 2023. This is 25. This is a later. Oh, fuck. That's really interesting. And this is 2025. Huh. Yeah, it looks like they replaced most of it. But they kept those 3 pictures for some reason. Yeah, November 2024. Damn. So they got rid of the real bad one. So we saw
Like
this one. But this one we didn't see. This one's crazy. This one's like fucked up. And then he didn't show the.
I'm
I don't think he showed the
trying to
pink one.
understand how this crash even happened. It's not even like a rear end; it's a direct head-on collision.
Okay, well,
Come on,
maybe
what
if
are we
you
doing here?
Saw the intersection. I mean, no, the intersection is like, how did this happen? Good point.
Swiss.
They do have the special, and I'm gonna do the thing where I pause a bunch at the very beginning of the video, and then the rest of the video I don't do anything. They have the special ones. Cross traffic does not stop. Yeah, this is a pretty nightmarish. It's like the combination of, yes, this is a nightmarish road where you got 2 highways going into each other, but at the same time, like, how often is traffic going through here? I guess there's 2 cars right there, but it doesn't seem very populated.
Landslide. So out here in Switzerland, there's this nice little community tucked away in the hills. But if you jump to the current day map, you will see that a pretty big landslide just narrowly missed the town. It looks like this one little building here got crushed, but overall the town looks pretty unscathed. Here's another landslide that happened recently, but this one ended up doing quite a bit more damage. Mac. Driving through this
It's cool to be able to see stuff like that.
Spot in Norway here, and if you set the time to 2023, you can see this Lightning McQueen semi-truck driving through.
Okay.
Make sure he doesn't fall asleep at the wheel. An important message. If you come to this intersection in Nigeria and turn your head over here, you can see this really funny billboard. Breaking the law is a serious crime. In Oyo State, we're really laying down the law here. The edge of the world. So off the coast of Mexico, there's this crazy mapping glitch that looks like it's the end of the world. It's at
cool.
Isles de San Benito. For some reason, there's this giant trench in the ocean, and the island just falls into it for some reason.
There's a mapping error, a GIS error. So it's gotta be the trench, like the combination of the mapping for the ocean trench, and then there's the mapping for the land, but for some reason the land, they got like the picture in, but the geometry didn't fit in.
This glitch also exists on the pro version of Google Earth, and it even lets you like stand on the edge of the island and walk down the side of it. Very weird.
Dude, this would go so hard in Google Earth VR.
Stuff. Floating cube. If you come down here in Germany, you can see this giant floating
most of these are Google Earth, to be fair.
Cube in the sky for some reason. If you look over there, there's another one not too far away from it. In case you were wondering, if you go into Street View, it's not in the sky anymore. It is just some weird 3D mapping glitch. This one shows up on the pro version of Google Earth.
This almost feels like a test. I don't know exactly how they make Google Earth, but it seems like it's a texture test, right? You take out 2 straight cubes, you're like, okay, let me make sure these textures are working.
And the program...
But that's not... This isn't texture based. I actually have no idea. I don't know how this technology works.
Seems to think it is a physical object that you can't move through, but it won't let me put the little Street View guy on top of the block. You just phase through.
So it's can collide off
through it and land on the ground.
Yeah, it must be for testing.
Down below, kept it on stealth planes.
On accident.
So for some reason, there's this strange glitch that sometimes appears on Google Maps, and it's where you can see planes on the map, but the texture of the plane has just turned into like the texture of the surrounding Earth. There's an example of this if you go to the 2023 map data at the...
It could be because it's like a what's the word? Fuck. Captain Disillusion taught me this. What's the word where it's like you take one picture and there's nothing there, and then you take another picture with something there, and you overlay them? That's probably how this glitch happens.
Louisville Airport. I've seen other examples of this happening before, though. I'm not totally sure why this happens. Airplane building. If you come to this museum in Santa Monica, there is an airplane sticking out of it.
Okay.
What a horrific accident. Rainbow from above.
Okay.
Have you ever wanted to know what a rainbow looks like from above? Well, if you come out here in Belgium and bring the map over here, you can see this mapping glitch out here that kind of looks like a rainbow from...
I was gonna say, I don't think that's an actual rainbow.
Above. Conch Island.
It's too contrasty to be the thing. Although I do wonder how that glitch happens too. It has a lot to do with like taking satellite imagery and then knowing the geometry of that area, and then like combining the 3D geometry with the pictures to create something
mapping
realistic. I don't know.
Kind of looks like a rainbow
big brain
from
for
above.
me.
Conch Island. So take a little look at this island right here. What do you think?
Looks like a
well,
conch.
This island is made almost entirely out of conch shells. These islands just came about from people, of course, fishing for conches and then discarding their shells here, and they've just been building up like crazy. Ball's Pyramid. There's this little island off of Australia called Ball's Pyramid. Unfortunately, they didn't give this island 3D on Google Maps, but if you were able to see
when
it,
my balls are on the pyramid.
And yes, this place is actually called Ball's Pyramid. I didn't
did
believe
you need
it
to
first,
did you need to emphasize that?
That's what they call it. Brazil Rage. So driving down this street in Brazil, you can see this guy get super mad and start punching at this guy's window. I wonder what made him so mad. The guy in the car eventually just decides to drive off, which is probably the best option here. Mountain Tower. Out here in China, you can find another really strange mapping glitch. There's 2 of them right next to each other. On Google Earth Pro,
that one seems a lot more obvious. That's a terrain glitch. You get those all the time in Unreal.
Oh, you can stand on top of it, and it's a pretty impressive view. Twin.
Yeah, see, because this one's not can collide, which is how you can tell it's a terrain error, whereas the other one, and the same thing with the trench one. But the cubes, I think, were like manually put there by someone to test, and then it went to prod or something. I don't know.
If you come to this one spot in Japan and you look over at this car, it almost looks like identical twins are driving in this car simultaneously. Of course, this is probably just a digital.
Oh, well, that's the morphing glitch I was talking about before, and that looks a lot closer to. So maybe maybe the other one was a morphing glitch too. I thought morphing glitches had to be across like the entire screen. I didn't know morphing glitches could be like this. But you could see the cut here a little bit too.
Stitching image glitch, lines and circles.
Stitching.
So if you zoom into the ocean here, you can see these strange lines and circles.
Is this not a netting fishing boat? Is it like this is the boat and these are the nets? Is this not things that happen all the time?
Emerging from this ship in the water. If you drop the street view right over here, you can get another view of it too. It looks kind of strange, but I'm pretty sure this is just a salmon farming operation. In fact, that's definitely what it is. Triangle.
Motherfuckers who live inland when they see a boat in Google Maps. It's just a fucking net, a boat. It is. I believe it is a salmon fishing farm. He did come to the correct conclusion there.
Zooming into this forest here, you can see these strange shapes etched.
Oh, we did the Triforce.
It kind of looks like some sort of alien QR code. But it turns out this land is owned by a super wealthy billionaire, and this is probably just some sort of weird art thing he made. It's always sunny on the farm. So coming out here in Wyoming, there's this farm, and you can see that they've created this kind of cool design in the corn maze here. Cool. It's always sunny on the farm. Looks like a pretty good maze too. Russian plane crash. So exploring the Russian wilderness out here, if you look hard enough, you can find a crashed plane.
That's
and you can even see the trail of trees that it took out while it was crashing. I looked around online and I actually was able to find some information on what the deal with this plane is. This plane was apparently an Antonov AN-30M that was carrying food and had 7 passengers on it when it went down. Also, everybody on the...
You would want to be in the plane crash that its sole purpose is to carry food from one place to another. It's like, shit, we're trapped in Siberia, but at least we don't have a food problem.
Plane crash.
Unless there's a lot of bears, and I guess that might be an issue, but...
Did apparently survive and were evacuated. Stalin. So if you come around this spot in Moscow, and you look around carefully, you can find that Joseph Stalin is still here. Man, he hasn't aged a bit.
You're gonna talk about the character impersonator and not the what the fuck is happening.
Zooming in the...
What the fuck is this? I mean, I understand what's going on. It's like a bunch of chandeliers, right? It's like you like have a rope here, boom, boom, boom. It still looks crazy though. That's a lot more notable than the Stalin character. Haha, take a funny picture with me.
This spot out here, you can see that someone decided to propose in a pretty interesting way. I wonder if this thing actually got used or not. Pretty crazy stuff. SCP Factory. So if you come out here, there's an abandoned building that someone has decided to name SCP Factory on Google Maps. And taking a look at it on Street View, it definitely kind of lives up to its namesake. I honestly have no idea what these things are. Maybe there's some kind of like defunct animatronics or part of like an old parade float or something. I have no idea though.
Parade float is interesting. I think it actually is parade float stuff. I was gonna say like there's a lot of like art farms, quote unquote, where it's like a guy, it's like an artist living on a farm, and then they just have like statues and shit up. But there's the wheels and stuff, so I think it is a parade.
Church lady. So coming out to this church in Washington, if you turn back the clock a little bit, you can see that on this day, this woman was praying with all her might. Kind of a cinematic scene.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Located on
the Imperial Pipes. We got the same brainwaves going on this one.
Planet Earth, you can find that there's another Earth in this pond.
That's cool.
Interesting stuff.
China 2.0.
So out here in Los Angeles, if you zoom into this particular intersection, you can see that
this one is famous. I have seen this one before. This is a schizophrenic guy. They know. There was a bunch of... I remember there was like a story about a bunch of fucking TikTok kids trying to break in here, but the police came to the location and they were like, yeah, there's just a bunch of homeless people there, and they all say, like, every single the homeless person who lives here has told them that it's like a schizo guy who just keeps doing this. So this one's not as interesting.
Now, in our area,
it's a pretty famous
street view.
Did I watch his video?
Life Hotel. So probably looking at this street view right here, you probably feel like this isn't anything too special.
A Deus Ex.
But I'm gonna speed run some background.
Dumpy, yes, true.
Information for this one. Grace Mullane was a British woman who, after graduating college, decided to take a gap year and travel the world.
You never like to hear a story start with blah blah was.
2018, she ended up in
especially
New Zealand,
one of these.
and while there, she matched with a guy.
This feels like a new video. Like, it feels like he's starting to talk more about stuff.
On Tinder that she would go on a date with. This guy was a man by the name of Jesse Shane Kempson. After the date, they would return to Jesse's apartment at the City Life Hotel, and this would be the last night.
His apartment at the hotel? What?
Grace would ever be seen alive. Later, Grace's body would be found stuffed in a suitcase, buried shortly outside of the city. Of course, Jesse Shane Kempson would later be caught, and he would end up serving life in prison. The exact way she died is pretty unfortunate, but I'll let you look that one up for yourself. Well, here on Google Maps, outside of the City Life Hotel, you can see someone who looks suspiciously like Jesse Shane Kempson. I saw this on Reddit, and at first I was a little skeptical that this was
So after finishing the Lie documentary on Netflix, okay, he left me off on a cliffhanger. What? How did she die? I gotta look this up. If it's juicy, I'll tell you. But if it's just like depressing and not fun, then I will not say what it is. Okay, you're gonna. Oh, I don't think it's fun. Wait, where is the exact details? I don't see it. Reactions. Oh, I see. No, it's not. It's not like weird, crazy, interesting. It's just rape and murder. That's I'm just. If you won't say it, I'll just say it. That's the answer.
But
it's not like anything in particular.
Like the exact same tattoo, and he's wearing a watch that looks similar to the one he had. I don't know if there's a way.
This isn't like super interesting
with absolute certainty, but this is a pretty crazy coincidence. Mystery buildings. So coming down the Aleutian Islands, almost to Russia, there's this kind of strange island out here that doesn't even.
What is it called?
Almost to Russia. There's this kind of
now I see why you didn't say that. Alvike Island.
Strange island out here that doesn't even have a name labeled on it yet.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Zoom into it, you can find that there's even like a little cluster of buildings on it.
I just read it.
It's pretty crazy to imagine what it would be like to live out here on the water and just in such a remote place. I ended up getting a little bit curious and wanted to figure out what these buildings were. I did a little bit of digging. It turns out this island is called Medny Island.
Huh?
And there.
Wait, what the hell, boy? What was that? What did I just read then? This is not the real island? You can find
that there's even like a little cluster.
Oh, wait. Is this a different island?
Labeled on it yet. If you zoom into it, you can find that there's even.
Look, that's a cut.
Even have a name labeled on it yet. If you zoom into it, you can find that there's even.
Yeah, there's a cut right there. So maybe this is Medny Island. The other one is Alvike
like a
Island.
Cluster of buildings.
I don't know.
It's pretty crazy to imagine what it would be like to
I'm just
live
gonna
out
let him
here
take
on
the
the
wheel.
water
I'm tired
in
of
such a remote place. I ended up
pausing.
getting a little bit curious and wanted to figure out what these buildings were. I did a little bit of digging. It turns out this island is called Medney Island, and there used to be a little village on this island, but it has been abandoned. The village that was on this island was at a different location than these buildings, though, so that's not what these are. I had to dig around quite a bit for this one, but eventually I found an account on Instagram of this like woman who just does a lot of traveling, and she had posted pictures of these exact buildings. I'm not gonna show the pictures here because I don't know who this person is really, but the caption of her Instagram post says that these buildings were left here by soldiers. So I think that's probably the best insight
that makes sense.
I can find online for what these are. You know, if someone wants to give me a $50,000 super chat, maybe I could rent a boat and go out here and take a look. But until then, I think this is the best explanation I've seen. Oligarch compound.
No, I'm satisfied with that explanation. So is it Alvike or is it Medney? And who is the mystery Instagram woman? I don't know any of this stuff. Parallel pipes, you gotta fucking elaborate.
So right here on the Black Sea in Russia, there is an enormous mansion compound. It really doesn't get much more luxurious than this.
Billionaires.
Now, there's been a lot of speculation online and investigative journalism.
Jeffrey Epstein
really owns this place. It's often been speculated that this is one of Vladimir Putin's residences. This place is often referred to as Putin's palace. Vladimir Putin has denied this claim. Now, we could get into the weeds here a lot about who truly owns this place, but I will just say from the stuff I've seen online, it seems like there's a pretty decent possibility that through a web of different business dealings and connections, Putin might essentially be kind of like the de facto owner of this, even if he doesn't own it on paper per se. Sasquatch. Here's a spot on Google where, yep, it's Sasquatch. Not gonna lie, I think this was the one that pushed me to becoming a believer. Chinese fusion. Here's a fusion reactor that China is working on. You see it from the sky. Beirut explosion before and after. So you guys remember that port of Beirut explosion back in 2020 where they were unsafely storing ammonium nitrate in the same spot for 6 years and then a fire broke out, igniting it, and then it exploded? Well, the explosion is absolutely big enough to show up on Google Maps. It left a enormous hole in the ground. It's the size of this entire ship. This is up there with some of the most powerful non-nuclear explosions in history. Explosion at Area 51. So if you come over Area 51 and you turn back the clock a little bit, you can see what looks to be an explosion on the tarmac here. At least it kind of looks like an explosion. To my understanding, this could potentially be a couple other things too besides an explosion, but honestly, I don't know if there's really any way to confirm with certainty exactly what this is. Seal skeleton. There's a Google Street View trail that you can walk up that leads pretty far inland in Antarctica. And along the way, you can spot this seal skeleton along the side of the road. I feel like this guy's pretty far away from water for a seal, but I don't know, I'm not an expert on seal behavior. Alaskan B-24. So
me neither, so I don't have anything to say on that.
Aleutian Islands of Alaska, you can find this plane crash hidden away on this island. Cool. This plane crash has been here.
All the plane crash ones are really cool.
Since World War II. The crew did survive and were later rescued, but the plane's just been sitting there ever since. Crashed UFO. So off in New Mexico here, if you zoom into this mountain, you can find something here that sort of looks like a crashed UFO. It's not there in the most recent version of the map, but it was there for quite a while. People on Reddit were pretty curious of what this thing was. Odds are is it was most likely a water guzzler, which is just kind of like a water capturing system that they put out here. Weapons hidden in...
Yeah, and when you look at the it could be a prank. It could be that when you look at it was replaced by a specific building, which makes me believe that the water guzzling theory, because it seems like this is some sort of treatment facility.
But it is just kind of like a water capturing system that they put out here. Weapons hidden in trees. Out in Russia, you can check out the Morozovsk Air Base. If you keep looking around this area for a little bit though, if you look at this tree line here, it kind of looks like they're hiding some weapons in the trees. I'm not an expert on this type of stuff, and so I don't know if that's for sure what's going on here, but just kind of looking at it, that's what it feels like. Tennis court cutout. So this next one takes us to Copacabana, where this
this next one takes us to Brazil.
high-rise building looks like it cut out an entire chunk of this mountain just to install a tennis court. I haven't been able to find any specific information about this online, whether or not it was
probably really bad for the environment, but it looks cool.
Really cut out for the tennis court, or if it was cut out for other reasons, or if this is just a natural occurrence. I've seen people online suggest that the cutout predates the building, and that feels right, but it does look pretty cool. Antibody building. Out here in China, there's a building that's built to say antibody on it. Kind of bizarre.
It's probably like a biotech research. Oh, does the company happen to be called TCG?
This is owned by a biotech company in the area. Hollow Earth.
Makes sense.
In Argentina, they have Ushuaia Ice Cave. This kind of looks like the path you'd take to get to Agartha. Porsche test track. So at this spot in Italy, you can see this giant circle from the sky, and it's the Nardo test track owned and operated by Porsche. It's of course designed for driving cars at super high speeds. I don't really think you can see it on Google Earth, but the tracks are banked at an angle so that when you drive at the right speeds, you don't actually even have to turn the wheel to go around the circle. You can just drive straight. Body in trunk. In Spain, if you pull up to this little village and we just turn around, you can see that there's this giant blurred out spot. Well, what used to be here, you might ask? Well, if I were to unblur it, you would see a man pulling what looks to be a dead person wrapped in
I remember seeing this on a different video.
A garbage bag out of a trunk.
Pre-blurred.
What's crazy about this is there is a bit of reporting about this online suggesting that this incident captured on Google Maps might have actually helped solve a murder case related to it. The reporting about this online is not totally clear, but The Guardian reports that in 2023, a Cuban national was murdered in Spain.
Yeah, he was murdered by some person. You can see, I think it's like this one, and then a couple of other images are related to that. But that story is not. You saw the thing.
Photospheres in North that may have been used in the course of the crime. Help me, North Korea. In North Korea, there's a location on the map that's just called Help Me. I'm pretty sure this is just a prank, but it's pretty unfortunate nonetheless. Photospheres in North Korea. So there is, of course, zero street view data in North Korea. However, there are some photospheres you can check out. There's only like a handful of them though. It looks like most of them just come from people who got to tour the area. Satellite test pattern. In China, you can find this really interesting satellite calibration test pattern on the ground.
That's cool.
It's pretty nice to look at. Chernobyl plant ring. So out near the Chernobyl disaster site, you can find this strange, perfect ring of trees. It looks pretty peculiar, although at the end of the day, I think this is just some sort of destroyed circular shaped building, like a silo, and then the plants just kind of grew around where it used to be. Body on bike. Out in Ohio, you can find this blurred out guy on the street. Now you might be wondering, why did they blur him out?
Well, if you unblur it, you'll see a body.
It's because he's carrying a long object that looks to be wrapped in a tarp on a bicycle. Of course, the knee-jerk reaction is it looks like he's carrying a dead body on his bicycle. A couple different news outlets have reported on this, but I should point out that this is probably just like a tent he's wheeling around on his bike. It's not totally blurred out if you just walk over here a little bit. Insane pile of boats. So coming in here, there's this port that is just crowded with boats. North Korean.
You fuckface. What is the port?
In here.
Why does it look like that? Are they abandoned? Are they something else? Okay, Mauritania. Let me see. This one's actually interesting. Mauritania. I feel like he's zoomed out far enough that I could probably just figure it out on my own. Yeah, it looks like it's this guy right about here. Or maybe not. Or this place actually does not look at all like the place he zoomed in on.
For here.
Okay.
A little bit.
Shut up.
Insane
pile of boats.
So coming in.
This is in Nouadhibou. Noadi. Oh, I see. Oh, I was right above it. So what is this? Port artisanal. All right, let's get the scoop on this one. Port artisanal. What is this? Yeah, there's a lot of boats. Port artisanal. A marina. Not great reviews, I'm not gonna lie. It's just a, no, it looks like it's still being like worked on and stuff. So these guys hanging out. Okay, the lowest quality images I've seen my entire life. Yeah, no, there's just like a lot of fishing boats. There's a market right outside of it, it looks like. It's just a mess of like very small fishing boats. Interesting. Yeah, you see people leave, some people are leaving, some people are coming back, and they all leave out. Here, oh, and look, you didn't talk about this. Look at all the fishing boats that are like just out on the sea. Oh, interesting. Okay. Ooh, top rated. Hotel Delphine. Oh, that actually is top rated. 5 stars. I'm sure it is. There's more over here. So yeah, it's just a bunch of, I guess it's just all the people living there. They all have a boat. They probably make a lot of their living on catching these fish that are out probably in this bay here. Very interesting. Okay, I just wanted to elaborate on that.
Here, there's this port that is just crowded with boats. North Korean mansion.
I guess that wasn't
Have
that
you ever wanted to know where Kim Jong-un lives? Well, here you go. This is the Ryongsong residence. Well, it's one of the places he lives. This place is totally decked out. It's got just a ton of luxury amenities and security infrastructure. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Does it? Not that interesting.
You ever wanted to know where Courage the Cowardly Dog was filmed? It's right here. This super lonely little hut out in China near the border of Mongolia. I'm not 100% sure what this thing is, but I would imagine it has to do something with the border or security or something like that. Finland plane crash. Here's a crashed Nazi plane in Finland. People have been to check out here before. In fact, there is a photosphere you can check out of someone standing over it. It's just been sitting there rotting away for years. Disappointment Island. Here's a fun place. Off of New Zealand, there's a place called Disappointment Island. It was given this name by British mariner Abraham Bristow, who in 1807 was pretty disappointed because he wanted to find fur seals on this island, but there weren't any. Roswell.
I would do it too.
So outside of Roswell, New Mexico, there's a very particular symbol etched into the ground here. If you fall into the Joe Rogan archetype, it might interest you to know that the Roswell crash site is not far away from here. Looking around online, though, it appears that this is a target for bombing practice in the area. Google Maps and...
I thought it was going to be... I mean, if it's close to the Roswell site, it's like, oh, well, this is going to be some dude who wants to make money. Like everybody who lives in Roswell wants to make money on the Roswell aliens, so why not just draw something in the sphere and then have it turn into a tourist site? But the bombing thing, I guess, is interesting. It makes a lot of sense.
So driving through this little town in Kenya, there's this point where these two guys put a barrel in front of your car and seemingly stop you. One of them is carrying an AK-47. I'm not really an expert on Kenyan politics, but this might be some sort of checkpoint or maybe a shakedown or something along those lines. I'd be happy if someone in the comments who knows more about this could correct me, though. Greenland shipwrecks. So Greenland's biggest city is Nuuk, with a bustling 20,000 people. But if you keep scrolling down the map here, you can find this little cove hidden away, full of abandoned ships. I haven't been able to find like any major documentation about this online. I did find a video of someone on Facebook who appears to have driven a jet ski out here and walked around, and it is a real thing, I can confirm. Capsized ship in North Korea. So
very North Korean themed now.
On this spot in North Korea, you can see a tipped over boat on the coast. It's not there anymore, but you can kind of see where it used to be sitting. There are some articles online saying that this was a ferry plane with no wings. At Portugal, in this airport, you can find this stupid looking airplane with no wings. Of course, this is just another one of these rendering glitches. P-2 bomber slide. So at Whitman Air Force Base, if you zoom in on this part of the runway and you turn the clock back to 2021, you can see this. Turns out this bomber had to make an emergency landing and ended up rolling off of the runway. No one was injured. Good thing B-2 bombers only cost $2.1 billion a piece. Galapagos face. So coming out here to the Galapagos Islands and you zoom into this spot, I feel like you can see this face in the ground. I don't know if I'm crazy, but it sort of looks like Ghost to me. I don't know. Am I losing it? Potential cartel members.
Crazy.
So out here in Mexico, if you drop your little street view guy here and check out this spot in 2022, you can see these two trucks parked on the side of the road. And I've seen people speculate that these guys might be members of the cartel. I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm not super familiar with cartel politics.
Me
and
neither.
how a lot of stuff works like this in Mexico.
I don't know.
I can't tell you with certainty if that's what these guys are doing. I've seen comments saying with absolute confidence that these are members of the cartel, and I've seen people with absolute confidence say that they are not and are some kind of checkpoint. If you're more in tune with this kind of stuff, you know, drop a comment and I'll pin it if you cook up a good argument. Abandoned Volkswagens. So many of you might be familiar with the Volkswagen emission scandal. Basically, quite a few years ago, Volkswagen was caught putting software in their cars that would allow them to cheat emissions tests. Volkswagen was eventually caught doing this. Volkswagen ended up
a very well-known story and also very not interesting.
Buying back 300,000 of these cars that had this software on it, and a ton of them are just sitting out here. To my understanding, Volkswagen was able to sell some of these cars that they had to buy back, but there's also a ton of cars that they just kind of have sitting in limbo that they don't really have much of a plan to deal with. Shipwreck on North Sentinel Island. So, of course, you might know of North Sentinel Island. It's an island off of India with a tribe of people on it who have had pretty much no influence from the outside world. They appear to still live hunter-gatherer lifestyles. On this island, there is a shipwreck now. It seems that people from the Sentinel tribe have been scavenging parts off of this ship to create tools. This shipwreck might have introduced them to metal tools. Boats doing donuts.
Nice.
So if you zoom into Galveston Bay in Texas, you can see a group of 4 boats in the water doing donuts. They're blowing off some steam after a long day of work. Once again, this is kind of just speculation, but I'm kind of under the impression that they're doing some sort of fishing or oystering or something like that. There seems to be a lot of fishing done in this area, and though I can't say with total confidence. Giant snowball. Out here, you can see a giant snowball that looks like it rolled down a hill. It might be a snow roller. Chinese-American aircraft carrier. So coming out here to this desert in China, you can see an enormous mock-up of a U.S. aircraft carrier. This is probably being used for target practice and stuff like that. If you scroll over here, you can see they actually have another one. Man, that's kind of crazy. Shrek from space. Out here, there's a cornfield with Shrek etched into it.
Big Shrek fan.
So out here in Illinois, there's this flooded strip mine, and in the middle of it is the greatest island you will ever see, Volvo Island. It's been here since 2012. People seem to like this place a lot. If you come over the street view here, you can get an even better look at it. Pyongyang Skate Park. So here in Pyongyang, North Korea, there is a skate park. When I first saw this, I was honestly a little bit confused how this thing even exists. You know, considering that skateboarding is a pretty Western sport, envisioning people skateboarding in North Korea just kind of sounds insane. I got curious about this thing, and apparently it's been there since 2012. I can't really get a good answer on how much this thing is really used, but on YouTube, I was able to find a vlog of some white guys coming to this skate park while touring the country, and they brought their skateboards there and were using them. The channel's called Happy Seizures. Pretty crazy stuff. Based on this video and some other stuff I've seen online, it doesn't seem like there's much skateboarding done here, but there might be some inline skating done here relatively frequently. Looking at the historical imagery, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of people coming here, but it's kind of hard to tell. Utah mountain glitch. Want to see something weird in Utah? If you come out to this spot, you can see this crazy formation in the mountains.
No,
I can't find any documentation about this spot online, so I'm pretty sure it's just a mapping glitch.
That's definitely it. That you can see like the little spots of the terrain.
If you go to the nearby street view spots and you look over to the area, you can't see anything either. So I don't think this thing is legit. Giant seashell. So out here, you can find a giant seashell. Just kidding, it's a glacier. This is just one of these countless islands up here that don't really do anything. Giant arrow. So come out to this.
One of those countless islands that don't really do anything. True. There's a glacier
island in the Pacific Ocean. You can find this strange look.
I don't think that has a story to tell. Oh my god, it's a piss lake.
Arrow on it. It kind of feels like it should be pointing at some buried treasure or something. I went out to see where this arrow was pointing at, and actually coincidentally it does seem to be pointing at this kind of strange ring of plants on the ground. I'm not totally sure if that's what it's supposed to be pointing at, but that's kind of weird. I've looked around online to see what this arrow is.
Where are you seeing the arrow? I see the arrow. Okay, never mind.
And what it could be pointing at. And the two main theories I've seen from people online is people saying it's some sort of flight navigation marker, or this island was actually used for nuclear testing purposes in the 1950s. And this arrow seems to be pointed pretty closely to where one of these nuclear bombs was detonated at. I think this arrow most likely has something to do with this. Tiny Russia. So right here is probably the lamest border crossing in the world. Here, coming through Estonia, there's just this tiny chunk of Russia that sticks out. It appears that Estonians are actually allowed to drive through this area. It is super small though. When you're driving through this area, there's a little sign warning you that you're about to enter Russia, and you are allowed to drive through it, but you are not allowed to stop your vehicle while you're coming through. There's a bigger chunk up ahead of Russia that's sticking out that you're also allowed to drive through as an Estonian. Unusable roundabout. Want to see the world's dumbest roundabout? Well, it's right here.
Nice,
what is the point? Somebody got bored. Rickroll location. So if you come to this spot in London under this bridge, you can find the exact spot where the Rick Astley Never Gonna Give You Up music video is filmed. You can even see those like pillars he's standing in front of. Real life Google Maps marker. So here's a business in Los Angeles that actually has a giant Google Maps pin marker painted on their roof.
Cool.
If you go back in time, you can see that the colors used to be even more vibrant, but they've kind of faded over the years. Persistent dog. So coming out here in Bulgaria, there's this little spot here where driving around in 2012, you can see this dog chilling out. But if you jump forward to 2019, you can see that there's also this same dog here. He was hanging out in the same spot for 7 years.
Cool.
Exploding North Korean office.
I don't know if it's necessarily the same.
Office building.
Dog,
so if you come to this spot in North Korea, there's this pretty nice looking office building. But if you set the time a little bit further into the future, you can see all the glass all over the ground and it's just a mess. It turns out this was a building that was jointly ran between North Korea and South Korea, and they were trying to use it for diplomacy purposes, but eventually at one point North Korea got mad and just blew the thing up. Bing Maps on Google Maps. If you come to this spot in Minneapolis and drive through this neighborhood, you can find a Bing Maps car. Kind of forgot this even existed. And for the three of you wondering, if you go onto Bing Maps and you come to this exact same spot, you can see the Google Maps car from Bing's perspective. The Google Maps car actually looks pretty cool, to be honest. It looks like Bing has actually discontinued their Street View thing, because I had to go to this weird like testing website to even get it to work anymore. Disappearing woman on Google Maps. So online, there are a couple different articles that will tell you that this woman in Belgium, you can see on Google Maps, is a woman by the
I've seen this one before too, but is he about to say it's not true?
Name of Paulette Landru, and she mysteriously went missing in 2020. She had been suffering from Alzheimer's, and one day her husband just came back inside after he was doing something, and she was gone. There was a whole search for her, but her body was never found. Now, apparently though, in 2022, someone would find this woman walking out of her house on Google Maps, and this discovery would lead to the police later finding her body, apparently just a few dozen meters away from their house. Like, she was so close to the house that just this clue alone on Google Maps was able to lead them to find her. Somehow the searches had completely missed it. I didn't believe this story at first when I first heard of it, but it is reported on by this Belgian.
I believe this story is true. I believe.
Probably used to the Google Street View camera being mounted on a car. But for example, out here in Montana, there's an example of it being mounted on a snowmobile, which is pretty cool. Antarctica Station. So if you come around to this research station in Antarctica, you can walk around the area and even go inside and see all the super secret research they're doing.
Neat.
To take over the world. Dead Mitsubishi plant. So in 2016, this Mitsubishi plant went out of business, and someone decided to build this The End sign out back here. What's kind of funny though is not too long ago, Rivian ended up buying this plant, and now they're producing their cars here. And someone decided to change it to Not The End. It's kind of funny. Creative street names.
That's cute.
So at this spot here in Nova Scotia, there's this little neighborhood where the streets are named this street and that other street. Wow. Goodyear Blimp.
It's this street, that street, and the other. So it's this, that, and the other, which is cute.
Pennsylvania. You can see that Google Maps caught the Goodyear Blimp mid-flight. No 3D though. It's just kind of etched into the ground.
Nice.
Gates of Hell. So in
I feel like I've seen this one.
There's this place that's been called the Gates of Hell.
Pretty popular tourist destination, I think, right? It's like sulfur or something that like started burning, and because of the chemistry, it just keeps burning out.
The exact story of this place, the exact series of events that played out isn't 100% known, but what is usually said is that in the 70s, they were mining natural gas in the area, but the ground ended up collapsing. And to prevent the natural gas from leaking out of the ground and coming into nearby cities, they ended up just lighting the natural gas on fire. And this has caused this hole here to just continuously burn ever since. Now, the fire seems to kind of have died down a lot in recent years, but on Google Maps, you can still see some of the fire, especially if you turn back the clock a little bit. True ghost town. Everybody wants to see an actual ghost town. So in Nevada, there's this little ghost town called Riolet, and it's like the poster child of ghost towns. Like the type of thing you'd see in a movie. In fact, it's used in some movies. This was a mining town that boomed in the 1900s.
Keep accidentally right.
And
oh, you
as
can't
fast as
see
it
me when I
boomed,
right click. Okay, good. Because I like 5 times now I've accidentally right clicked and shown my thing across
busted
the screen
and was just totally abandoned. Gray Bench.
Okay.
This random bench in Italy has over 100 reviews and has a perfect 5-star rating. People really love this bench. It's even LGBTQIA friendly. You can have an Instagram account.
Cool.
Street View car crash. Here in South Africa.
Another one. Oh, shit. Well, this time it's in South Africa. I feel like that makes more sense.
Coming along this highway. If you look ahead, you can see this car crash into the next lane over.
Oh.
This
So not the Google car crashing this time, but a different car crashing.
area seems pretty prone to car crashes because if you set the street view to another future date, you can see it looks like there was another car crash here in pretty much the exact same spot. Floating person in Estonia forest. Walking around in this forest out here in Estonia, you can see this
Russian girl floating. Some of you know what I'm talking about.
Strange humanoid figure floating in the sky above the trees. Yeah, it
looks like it's just tied to the 2 trees.
It's probably just a bug. Levitating British man.
I guess that
out
too.
Here in England, you can see a couple of geezers up on their lift. It looks like they're trying to take pictures of this business here. Skateboard accident. Driving around in Australia, you can see this guy fall off of his skateboard. It looks like he ends up walking it off pretty well though, so good on him. Car fire. Coming through this spot in Russia, you can see this giant blurred out spot. But what used to be here is you could see a guy trying to extinguish his car, which is on fire. Orange man levitating. Just another day in Mexico. Sun's shining, fresh air, and yeah, it's Goku. Another North Korean mansion.
That is Goku.
In fresh air, and yeah, it's Goku.
That was awesome. Did somebody edit the picture, or is it like tied to the tree? I don't know. Huh.
Another North Korean mansion. Here in North Korea.
I can't tell if it's physical or if it's because sometimes they get volunteers to do the streetcar. So I wonder if some volunteer did the streetcar area and then they thought it would be funny to just like add it, because obviously they have the panorama footage before they give it to Google. Maybe they added it in there to be funny and Google never caught it.
Nice villa that was built for Kim Jong-un. This is a pretty nice place overall. There's even a yacht parked here sometimes. It's got this really linear road entrance that I'd imagine is probably, here for security purposes. Mars, moon, and sky. So the desktop version of Google Earth also lets you explore Mars, the moon, and the sky.
And every other planet, but with less detail, I think.
The Mars one is pretty detailed, but from what I can tell, there isn't actually a lot of stuff to like zoom in on and check out. The Google Sky thing is pretty interesting too. You can like just look at random stars and zoom really far in on them. And
I've seen this one before. I remember this as a kid. Was really cool.
If you click on them, it'll give you some information. The real star of the show though is the moon. You can check out all the Apollo landing locations, and there's even like photospheres you can look around on. Pretty interesting stuff. I didn't know that this thing had a license plate on it. Google. Someone found the easiest way to vandalize Google Earth, and this is how you do it. Alcohol and drug abuse lake. So out in South Carolina, there's this boring old lake called Village Lake. But back in the day, this place actually used to be called Alcohol and Drug Abuse Lake, which is definitely more my speed. Man and garbage.
I think I've heard the more elaborate story behind why it's called that, and apparently it's because that area in Virginia? That area in Virginia has a lot of problems with alcohol and drug abuse, and I think somebody named it that to be sort of funny, but also sort of call out the idea that that neighborhood is in a lot of trouble. I don't know. I remember it being like kind of depressing, but like also still funny to have a name that literal.
garbage can. So walking through Switzerland here, and you're coming through this park, you can see this guy's head sticking out of a garbage can. You can walk up close to him and he's still there. Looks like Google has decided to blur his face, which is pretty funny though. If you finally come around this corner here though, he disappears. I'm pretty sure it's just some guy playing a prank on the Street View guy.
They do that a lot.
Beatles.
They do that a lot.
Out here in the District of Columbia, you can see these guys walking across the street.
Oh, there's another one.
They're doing like a perfect Beatles album cover. I wonder if they'll ever know they did this. Google versus Apple race. So driving down this street in Lithuania, you can see that an Apple Maps car will actually pass you.
Damn.
I wanted to see if maybe I could see this from the Apple Maps car perspective, but I couldn't get this location to show up on Apple Maps. The Apple Maps Street View has come a long way though. I mean, look how fluid this motion is. Titan emerging from the Earth. If you come to this place in Antarctica, it kind of looks like there's this giant face coming out of the snow. Might be worth sending a guy out here.
What? Oh, is it like I knows? Is that it?
Here to check this out. Florida.
Yes.
In Florida, zooming in, you can find this little mini Florida inside of it. This is just a swimming pool. It looks like it's part of Legoland. Pigeons again. If you've ever watched like strange Google Maps location videos.
Yeah, I've seen this one a million times. It's not that interesting.
This was Waluigi Road. Also, while I was driving around this area, the map started glitching out and turning.
That's what foreshadowing. That's what we saw in the other one. Maybe it's just a well, I guess it could have still been that car crash caused it to freak out, and then this one just broke because sometimes they just break, right? That's interesting that it happened a second time.
Apple headquarters too. Of course, we all know that Apple has a pretty crazy headquarters in Palo Alto. It's just this giant circle with a park in the middle. It can house 12,000 workers, and the dimensions of it are like basically bigger than the Pentagon, but the sequel just dropped and I think they're going to give them a run for their money. What do you think? Giant QR code. So if you come down
sequel just dropped
onto this little village in China and keep your eyes peeled, you can find it. They've made a giant QR code. You can't.
Okay, I don't know if I want to try this because it's. You know what? Just in case. Let me see. I know I'm pre-watching. He's just about to explain it. I think he was about. In fact, I think he was about to say that you can't use the QR code, which is true.
Can't really scan this thing unless you take a photo of it and like Photoshop it so that the image is brighter and darker. But if you can make it work, it'll give you information about the surrounding area for tourism. But if you don't have WeChat installed, it'll just take you to a page trying to get you to download WeChat. Bend over. Here in Slovenia,
good thing I have WeChat. Okay,
clothing location called Dover, but someone came along and had this fantastic idea. Car at the bottom of a lake. If you come out here in California and you come to this lake here, if you set the time back so that the water level goes down, you can see what appears to be a car at the bottom of this lake. I've done a little bit of digging online. There is a Reddit post where people are talking about this, and there is someone in the comments who claims that they worked as a paramedic and had searched the car, no one was in it. Of course, this person could just be making up this story. Also, though, if you go to Street View right next to where the car is and look over the edge, you can see that someone's written on the ground something about the car being cleared, and so I think that means this car has been checked on and made sure it didn't have a person in it or something. Maybe someone was just trying to dump their broken car or something, who knows. B-2 Shadow. At Okinawa, you can see what looks like to be the shadow of a B-2 bomber, although I'm pretty sure that's not what this actually is, because that would be a...
Is that not just the cloud over here? Am I crazy?
That would be crazy to catch on camera. Buddha's palm. In China, you can find this
I guess it could be a cloud above. Wait. No, because the satellite's even higher up. I don't know.
Hand sculpture.
But it looks like a cloud shadow.
In the desert. This thing is known as Buddha's palm. Cool. Solar power source. So this looks pretty weird, doesn't it? This is located in Spain, and it's kind of an interesting...
It's like the Helios 1
solar power generator. Instead of using solar panels to directly capture the energy from the sun, instead the way that this generator works is there's just a ton of mirrors lined up in a circle, and they all direct the sunlight to point into this middle section here. All of this directed sunlight generates a ton of heat.
I've heard of these. Oh yeah. I think I've seen this exact picture before. Actually, this is the same thing that I had heard of. It looks like this. It looks crazy.
Carbon to make electricity. Looking it up online, apparently this thing makes enough electricity to power 27,000 homes a year, which is actually more than I was expecting. Forklift. Out in Fort Worth, Texas, you can find this guy hitching a ride. Beats walking. Ice cave. In Russia, there's this tourist attraction called the Permafrost Kingdom. They basically dug these tunnels in this frozen hill out here, and they filled it with lights and ice statues. It's
Damn,
pretty cool to walk around in here. It's a very interesting vibe. You can walk around in pretty much all directions. Sunken church. If you come out here to this lake in Italy, you can see this partially submerged church sticking out of the water.
Really cool.
This area was flooded by the government in the 1950s so they could create an artificial lake for hydroelectric purposes. And one of the victims of this was this little church here. When it freezes over, you can actually walk up to it, which is pretty cool. The White House. You can walk around the White House in Google Street View.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
You've been able to do this for a while.
Interesting to actually be able to get a lay of the land in here, really see what it's like. They don't let you go all the way over to the Oval Office, but they give you quite a bit of freedom. Also, I think we can all agree that this JFK painting goes pretty hard. World's best furniture.
It does.
Here in High Point, North Carolina, they have this monument here reminding you that they are the furniture capital of the world. And don't you forget it. The most innovative place when it comes to furniture technology. Windows. So, you know, the iconic Windows XP background? Well, this is where that image was taken. It's not a perfectly clean grass plane anymore, but you can kind of see where it used to be. Block of sheep.
Actually, where is it? Oh, just Sonoma. Okay.
Clean grass plane anymore, but you can kind of see where it used to be. Block of sheep.
I didn't know if it was like in Ohio or something, but no.
In Albania, there's this huge flock of sheep that just blocks the road, taking up more space than actual cars.
Yeah, they do that.
Out here in the middle of nowhere in Texas, there's this tiny Prada store on the side of the road. This isn't a legit Prada location. It's just kind of an art.
It's an art location. You can see the plaque next to it.
Piece. This place has seen a lot of vandalism and theft over the years, believe it or not. Ship locked in the ice. Coming out here to Svalbard, you can find this red ship locked in the ice. This is purposely put here by a ship company so it can serve as a base camp for people doing Arctic expeditions around here. Climber. Out here.
It's a queso.
A base camp for people doing Arctic expeditions around.
Does it say queso? C-A-S-E-O-H? Anyone else see this?
Here, Climber. Out here in Italy, you can see this Tyrannosaurus Rex climbing up this cell tower here. Pretty interesting stuff.
Crazy.
World's biggest potato. Coming out here into Idaho, you can see the world's biggest potato. This is a hotel that you can stay in if you wanted to do that. Efficient man. In Jerusalem, you can see this guy carrying an unbelievable amount of bread on his head. There's probably some joke I could make here, but damn, that's a lot of bread. I wonder how long he's been doing this for. Epstein Island. Here it is. Epstein's Island, or known as Little St. James. Man, this island is at the center of one of the biggest scandals in the United States for some time now. It's almost kind of surreal seeing this place modeled in 3D. You can even see the little temple on top that was apparently a music pavilion. And what a time to be alive. Penny farthing. Out here in Australia, you can find this guy riding ye olde penny farthing. How on earth are you supposed to stop this thing? The Costa Concordia. The Costa Concordia was a cruise ship that crashed out here in January of 2012. The ship sunk because the captain tried taking it a little bit too close to land, and then it got a giant gash in the bottom of the ship and the whole thing flooded and tipped over. Here it is. Crashed plane in Manitoba. Here's another plane crash you can find on Google Maps. This was a cargo plane that crashed very shortly after takeoff. In fact, the airport it crashed from is just right over here. Also, right nearby is the renowned Polar Bear Jail. I've actually talked about this before in another video, so check that out if you want to hear more about that. Bolivian Train Cemetery. Yeah, this place is just filled with old trains. You can walk around looking at all the rot. Pretty fun little exploration. Sled dogs. Also, up here in Manitoba, there's this section of Street View where the camera is mounted on a sled being pulled by some dogs. Some pretty cool stuff. They take you pretty far. Train here in Bavaria, in Switzerland. The Google Street View camera is mounted on top of this train going through the mountains. It's a pretty scenic ride. If you turn around, I think you can see the guy manning the camera. International Space Station. You can check out the inside of the International Space Station from Street View. You can float around in here, get your bearings. Man, this place is pretty cool, but what a bleak place to live. Floating around in here, there are these little dots you can hover your mouse over, and it'll give you information about some of the stuff in here. Like right here is a workout machine the astronauts need to use so their muscles don't totally atrophy in the lack of gravity up here. You might be wondering, how do you get the Street View guy into the space station? Like, that's above Earth. And I think the only way you can get in here is if you like directly search this up on Google and click on the link here. Drug deal. If you come...
Wait, what?
Directly certain, like that's above Earth, and I think the only way you can get in here is if you like directly search this up on Google and click on the link here. Drug deal. If you come on Street View through this spot in Chicago, you can see some guys doing probably that. You can even see them exchange money. They keep eye contact with you for quite a while as you drive away. Blue McDonald's. Here in Sedona, Arizona, there's a McDonald's.
It's green. It's turquoise. I guess it's like a bluish green. Actually, you know what? Go ahead.
With a blue logo.
Actually, it's turquoise.
Pretty insane stuff. Most sources will tell you that the reason this place has a blue logo instead is because the city thought that the yellow logo was going to look ugly in the area. And so when they were building it, they requested that they did a different color. The packaging on all the food on the inside also is blue too, which is sort of cool. 500 years ago.
It's because Sedona is the number one uh, resource, the number one miner of turquoise gems in the world. And I think they probably did say that. I don't know exactly the reason, but they probably did say that. But their reasoning for picking that specific color was that it was the color of turquoise.
Maps look.
And then the red, because there's also red, like a different shade of red than the usual McDonald's, and that's because that's Adobe, which is also a big. It's like the red rock of Sedona, whatever. Anyway, this is totally irrelevant.
But look at us now. We've come a long way. Google Earth is one of those technologies where I feel like if you really step back and think about what it.
Oh, it is over. Nice. So that's been 48 minutes of Google Maps Strangest Anomalies done in 1 hour and 4 minutes. I will see you in the next one.